I think about incentives are the strongest force in the world. And the only counterforce to them is, I call it morality, values, whatever that is. Those are the two opposing forces. And you can phrase those as intrinsic motivations, extrinsic incentives. And the way I think about it, it really depends on that balance. And so if I'm walking down the street and I find a wallet on the street, I'm going to find the person's name and I'm going to go and return that wallet with all the money in it. If I lived in a third world country and that money meant a lot to me, maybe I would not return that money. Maybe I didn't grow up with the values to not steal, and maybe I was really more desperate for that money. Now, take me again. I'm here in New Jersey. I'm walking down the street. I find a USB stick and I put it into my computer and I find, well, there's $1 million in crypto here. Maybe I start to rationalize, oh, well, maybe that person was probably a criminal. They probably had 50 of these. Maybe I'll just keep, like they won't notice or they deserve, I can rationalize. So all same morality, but my incentives now are much strong. So even that I consider myself a very moral person, to good values and everything else, like that's going to become a much harder decision for me to make if I think it's I can rationalize that it's a victimless crime. And so this sense of morality incentives. Now, I translated that because again, I was in Google and I saw this sort of play out there, not to an egregious sense, but Amnesty International. So these organizations only have incentives. They don't have morals. They don't have a counteracting. Now you could say they originally have a leader who is setting the moral tone and their principles and values, and they've locked themselves in to, oh, I can make some short-term money, but no, that violates and that's going to hurt us in the long term. But eventually these places, they don't have the same leader. They don't have that same strong force. And so the incentives just take that little shortcut here and there. And that's how Google became far from don't be evil in a lot of ways. But I think all these other organizations in a much more immoral, not just unethical way, they have new people. And I actually don't even blame them. You've hired all these young people that care about social justice and this is their world. And they think that, evil Israel is the greatest evil force or oppressors and blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, if you stand up when they say blame Israel, call it a genocide, and you say, actually, it doesn't meet the definition, they mutiny. That's it. You're out as the CEO. You're, it all comes crumbling down. And so then it's pure incentives, no morality. And so ascribing morality, that's why I'm like, take away the UN and Amnesty International doctors. They're not moral organizations anymore. They had a moral mission. That's not what drives them anymore. And that's not to say they don't do some good moral things in the world. But if we're like, oh, they're a morally good organization, so everything they say must be morally sound, we're giving them way too much power and influence. We have, and we need to take that away now.